Okay, so the speech and my communications professor. So I ended up going to see her after class, and when I walked into the room, she looked so distraught to see me. She's probably used to students, just totally reaming her a new one for giving them a bad grade and just yelling at her and stuff. So, and that was exactly the opposite of why I was there. So I went in and asked if I could speak with her, and she said, "Well, I've got class right now. I can meet you after." So I thought, okay, well, now she's even more distraught. Like, she's probably thinking about it during class. And so I decided I was going to go to the Commons and write out, everything that I was going to say to her, which, as you can see, the irony that, I didn't work at all on my speech, and now I'm preparing this crazy long letter to give to my communications professor telling her how, I really enjoyed her class. I really think she was a great professor, that I didn't want her to feel distraught about giving me a C, that I didn't work on that speech at all, and, no worries kind of deal. But I also went into, a lot of the things that were happening to me at the time, with my spiritual awakening and all of the synchronicities. And I wrote it all out, and I went to go talk to her and, basically give it to her. And she said, "Oh, no, let's go outside and, we can talk." So I just thought it was ironic, that I prepared this long speech to talk to her, and then ended up talking with her afterwards, giving a speech. So we're sitting on the park bench, and it was this beautiful day. It's nice and sunny, and there's birds chirping. And I go into everything I just said, about her being great and that she shouldn't worry about that. And I really, felt sorry for not, putting time into that speech. And then I went into, things that were happening to me, that were just really weird. The fact that I was waking up every morning just so stoked to be alive, and that every moment was leading to the next, and each person, the just compassion and love and empathy and humility that I was, enduring and also building, I guess. Really dismantling my programming, I guess is the way to put it. And just telling her how, it was just such, an amazing time, but yet, I felt kind of alone and kind of felt a little crazy, like that no one really understood me. And, I said, "I don't know if you know, what I'm talking about." And she was silent. And so I turned and looked at her, and she was crying. And she said, "I know exactly what you mean." And that was such a significant event in my life. It was exactly what I needed to hear. And I felt so, I was talking to my friend Brian, my spiritual teacher, but even with that, it felt like I was experiencing something unique. So there was a lot of things that I just felt like were so personal, that, I even ended up calling up my confirmation instructor, right, my neighbor, and asking her, about that scroll, and just saying how I was going through this really weird experience. And she basically, kind of said, "Oh, well, you can't know God, there's no way to really know God. We can pray to God, but we can never really talk to him." And I was like, well, like, she's not going to be any help. But, she did say that she, thought that she had this weird feeling about me. And it's interesting because she's tried to follow me on Facebook since then, and I can't bring myself to let her into, everything else in my life. So that's that part of that. And then I ended up moving to Madison, Wisconsin after that, and I didn't really spend a lot of time. I moved there to get to know my extended family, and I was really deeply involved in my spiritual practice at that point, but also my information. I was, reading every single religious text under the sun, you know, tons and tons and tons of books, and just really getting into you know, building my knowledge base and understanding and dismantling and deprogramming myself. You know, I stopped watching TV. I, you know, started eating healthier and drinking more water, and you know, getting into kung fu and taking qigong classes. And that was really the time. That was actually the time when I saw my aura. I was doing like these eye exercises, and I'd been doing them for a few weeks, and you know, for the sole purpose to see, you know, see people's auras. And one night I was just in my room, and I kind of softened my eyes a little bit, and I could just see this glow around my body, well, around my arm. I couldn't see my head, obviously, because my eyes are my face. And you know, I've seen it one other time, but you know, yeah, just like any other practice, you have to keep up on it, or else, you know, you lose it. And that's what happened. I just stopped doing the eye training, and you know, I can't see people's auras anymore. But, you know, while I was there, I was supposed to get a Reiki attunement to start energy work. And I had some work done on me from a couple friends there, and it was amazing. And you know, I just never ended up working out that you know, we could do an attunement or this or that. And so I ended up moving to Portland, you know, after I'd been there for a couple of years, and met this guy named Mark, who was best friends with this girl that I was seeing. And he would be what I would consider a dark angel. He would probably disagree. The reason why I call him Dark Angel is he's very wise and very intelligent, and he just doesn't, he peels the layers of all the floofy stuff that people consider new age, you know, hippie nonsense. And just really gets to the, you know, he understands that shadow work is just as important as loving and kindness. Like, you really have to dig deep and, you know, really understand both light and dark to fully appreciate, you know, the universe as a whole. And I completely agree. So one of the things that you know, he ended up being my Reiki master and gave me my first attunement. And one of the things that happens when you get an attunement is you take a part of that person's energy with you. And I would say that's part of what I took, was that deeper level of understanding that there is no such thing as disgrace, right? There's nothing outside of grace. But that being said, I also had been kind of, you know, starting to drink a little bit more heavily than I had ever in my past. And that progressed, honestly, for the next 4 or 5 years, up until about 3 years ago. I would just drink beer constantly. And, you know, I started to kind of lose myself. I really honestly was starting to get consumed by it all. And, you know, I was a lot meaner. I wasn't a very, you know, compassionate person anymore. I felt like everything was just kind of getting dulled, you know. And it was partly probably because I really didn't like my job. And I just kind of felt like, I don't know, I had all this understanding and all this knowledge, and you know, I'm walking this spiritual path, but it just still felt like, yeah, I was going nowhere, you know, like I was just not getting anywhere. And I just sunk deeper and deeper and deeper into that. And, you know, I would say, you know, I kind of hit rock bottom. And I luckily was able to pull myself out of it. And, you know, I haven't looked back. That was 3 years ago. I haven't drank since. So, you know, there's so many things that can happen along a spiritual path, that, you know, you have ebbs and flows. You're going to be up and you're going to be down. it's important to do the shadow work and really get involved with yourself, and realize that that you are this multifaceted being that in all areas need care and attention and appreciation, right? You learn and I would even almost say more. You learn more from going through hardships than you do just being in bliss constantly. I mean, the best case scenario is, kind of the Buddhist tradition is, trying to have an even balance, not extreme good and not extreme bad, but just kind of keeping it just mellow, right? Just chill. So, yeah, everything kind of just fell apart, and I had to pick up the pieces. And around that time, shortly after, I was actually, blessed with the opportunity to go down to the Amazon rainforest and participate in some shamanic ceremonies down there. And those, again, those were definitely significant events in my life. I was able to work through a lot of the emotional stress that I had from some of the relationships, people that I felt like I failed, or, just didn't feel close to, relationships with my father, and really coming to terms and understanding, the roots of those problems, which are, nothing, right? Just being human is the root of things like that.